Before I got to play the new demo of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, on the one hand I tried to dampen my expectations. They already conducted a beta test for the title, which didn't resonate much with fans, sparking hefty backlash on discussion boards. On the other hand, I tried not to let that influence me too much. I didn't play the original beta demo, and I didn't read about the problems people had with this new Sonic Fun Racer, so I could come to my own conclusions. The reception of this particular sub-franchise was certainly better than prior Sonic racing attempts, but also kinda mixed. The original Sonic All-Stars racing game wasn't bad per se, but also pretty inoffensive and just not daring enough. The series really rests on the laurels of the first sequel called Transformed. Personally, I never found the controls as tight as I wanted them to be, but it featured rock-solid gameplay that was different enough from the competition, especially thanks to sophisticated flying and hovercraft sections, which didn't just feel like kart racing in a different skin. And there was also a full-fledged single-player mode, which tested your skills for all these vehicles, including an interesting roster of SEGA characters and maps. Unfortunately, the sequel Sonic Team Racing threw most of that out of the window and focused on a convoluted team play system. The developer Sumo Digital then bailed, and CrossWorlds was made by a different studio, which made it all the more intriguing how it compared to prior titles. Sadly, I couldn't replay Transformed in preparation for CrossWorlds because the game recently became unplayable on Steam and Sega doesn't seem interested in fixing it. I made a whole video recently on the poor state of game preservation, and that's just another example for that woe. Either way, my first time with CrossWorlds was a lot to take in. I played multiple tournaments and time trials, but that wasn't nearly enough to fully grasp what's going on here. Something that wasn't the case with Transformed back in the day. I mean, getting started is simple: step on the gas, drift and shoot items. Vehicles automatically transform into planes or hovercrafts, and stunts have become easier because you can't fail a landing anymore. Still, CrossWorlds is one of the most overwhelming mascot races I've played in a while. It seems both surprisingly deep, but also very chaotic for multiple reasons. One reason is something you can't really blame the game for: the sheer amount of alien items. We're all used to the shells and banana peels from Mario, so it takes a while to learn all these Sonic equivalents. However, even coming from Transformed, they felt unusual. I skipped Sonic Team Racing, so I'll assume some of these items came from there. Compared to Transformed, several items like the boost now have entirely new icons and designs, and some objects like placeable magnets or a countdown bomb I don't remember at all from the old SEGA All-Stars games. But learning a few new systems isn't bad. In fact, as a genre fan, it was kinda tedious starting the last few Mario Kart iterations on the mandatory lower speed cups, because you already know all the ins and outs of the mechanics. Besides that, CrossWorlds seems to go deep with customization. Before each race you pick a vehicle type similar to Mario Kart 8, but here it's divided even further into categories like speed or heaviness. I tried one round with the new hoverboard type, which actually felt pretty intuitive and made the racing pretty different. But that's not all. You also need a mod for your vehicle, which determines the bonuses within the race based on the components, like starting the race with a portal item, or increasing the boost items, or maybe the effectiveness of the boxing gloves, which might make CrossWorlds a lot harder to just pick up and play for its intended audience, but actually I might appreciate that. Again, at this point, playing Mario Kart often feels like autopilot, so it could be nice to have an alternative which you still need to learn. However, it seems that they've scrapped the mission mode from Transformed, which I feel would have been a perfect fit for these systems. Instead, there seems to be a Smash Bros like party mode where you're going to teams and race with custom specifications like gaining points for using boost pads or stealing rings. If that's really the substitute for a single player mode, I'm not a fan. Anyway, apart from these new items and customization craziness, there are the over-the-top racing tracks too. If you thought that some of the highway courses in Mario Kart World were too linear, CrossWorlds might be for you. The tracks are full of tight corners, moving boost fields, big jumps, and flight and water sections that stand out from the normal driving. And then there are the eponymous CrossWorlds, portals that will switch tracks after a round or two. This heightens the intensity because the obstacles in most levels are very different. A museum track might have huge propellers and lasers, while in the prehistoric level there are waterfalls and dinosaurs. The track switching takes a while though, so I'm not sure this feature won't get tedious later on. But for me, the one big downside here was the visual presentation. It isn't just that this is a cross-generation title in 2025, even on PS5 it looks weaker than Mario Kart. I also just don't like the art direction. To be fair, I'm not the best person to ask, because I never liked the aesthetic in its predecessors either. Sonic characters within these Batmobile-like vehicles always looked weird to me. Even more when the guest characters had realistic models, and the racetracks also ranged from half cartoony to half realistic. Now it feels even worse, seeing Kasuga from Yakuza next to Amy Rose, racing through SpongeBob Town or a gloomy pirate backdrop. I just can't. Ignoring that pet peeve of mine, if I had the chance, I would have continued playing right away. There seems to be a lot to learn, which is refreshing, but at the same time there's enough of a dopamine rush thanks to all these colorful mechanics and racing tracks. The big bummer so far is the lack of proper single player content.